Come in, all who long to know how to love this world, how to keep eyes open, hands unclenched, arms wide, breathing deeply in and out. This is a time to practice because there is still so much good and beauty and joy, but it can be hard to keep telling this tale with all the news and the wind and the rain and the trembling earth. Who wants to love this life anyway? All right. Good morning. Welcome. Did something happen yesterday? Everybody's here again. I feel like we were just here. Less than 24 hours ago. Good morning. Yeah, these are the long haul people who come to church multiple times a weekend. Good morning, everybody. I'm the Reverend Dr. Oscar Sinclair. I serve as Unity's senior minister. I was installed yesterday. If you're visiting, it was a big day. It is so good to be here together with all of you. I'm joined in the chancel this morning by our Minister of Congregational Care, Reverend Laura Cowton, by our worship associate this morning, Charlie Caswell, by everybody that makes this service happen. If this is your first time here at Unity, know that you are welcome, that all of who you are, your gifts and your wounds, are welcome here in this place. If you are one of those long-haul people who has been coming a long time and said yesterday, ministers come and go, but the church will still be here, you are welcome here. If you're joining us online, you are welcome. We are so glad to have you with us this morning. We hope that you find Unity Church to be a place that helps you find and keep your balance, and a community that inspires you to live a life of integrity, service, and joy. One quick announcement: if you are visiting us this morning, you will find in the pew in front of you a visitor card. If you would fill that out and put it in the offering plate as it passes by later in the service, we will know who you are and what has brought you here, and we will follow up. If you are visiting us online, send us an email. Tell us the same things. We would love to get to know you and welcome you. If you're visiting here, our visitor, and actually whoever wants to, class called Finding Yourself at Unity meets in the center room between the two services. The topic this morning is a building tour, so we'll get to know a little bit about the space. But for now, welcome. Take a moment, ground yourself in this space with these people as we enter into worship with the ringing of our bell.
Our call to worship this morning are the words of Reverend Gretchen Haley. Come in, all who long to know how to love this world, how to keep eyes open, hands unclenched, arms wide, breathing deeply in and out. This is a time to practice, because there is still so much good and beauty and joy. But it can be hard to keep telling this tale with all the news, and with the wind, and with the rain, and with the trembling earth. Who wants to love this life anyway? Come in. Come in, all who teeter on the edge of cynicism, broken-hearted, and still trying to remember laughter and kindness, and the chance to be alive in these days when so much is at stake. In this place, we remind each other why we persist, giving each other courage to take the path that is not always the easy path, to keep practicing this love that cannot and will not let us go. Come, let us worship together. Please join me in reading the unison words for your chalice lighting in your order of service. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love.
Ministry at Unity is much more than our ordained ministers. I mean, I really do love Oscar and Laura and KP, wherever he is, and those who came before. But in the 43 years I've been attending Unity, I've been struck by the many ways so many people here minister to one another. I won't try a comprehensive list of various ministries because I'd miss so many. But a few I've experienced include everyone from the ministers, to the volunteers leading RE and adult classes, to the musicians, to the welcome teams, to the people who feed us at Wellspring Wednesday and other events, to the staff who keep our facilities running and safe, to the people who look me in the eye and genuinely care about how I'm doing, to, yeah, you get the idea. So many people, through kindness, compassion, and open connection, through courageously sharing their perspectives, have helped me grow spiritually and see other ways of being, and to feel increasingly welcome in and connected to my Unity home. We are a practicing congregation, by which I mean we individually and collectively minister to one another in myriad ways. This helps us lead lives of integrity, service, and joy. Unity is about so much more than the ordained ministers. It is the outcome of all our shared ministries. And that's why I love this place.
Each time we gather for worship, we'd set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Let us take that moment now. Let us pause, take a breath in together. Truly arrive in this space and this time, feeling the strength and the warmth of those around you and of those worn planks that hold you and the ground beneath your feet. In this community, we generously give and we openly receive compassionate care in times of joy and sorrow and transition. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death and the circle of love, compassion, and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. It is a truth of our living condition that among us on any given day, there are those experiencing something from the full scope of what it means to be alive, the joys and sorrows and the celebrations and the challenges that make a life. Today, from among us, Ellen Wold and Larry Oberg are celebrating the birth of their second great-grandnephew. 2-year-old Cameron welcomed baby brother Cooper on Monday, April 7th, just one day shy of great-aunt Ellen's birthday. All are well. And we celebrate the life and we mourn the death of Patty Berglund, who died peacefully in hospice care on Friday, surrounded by loved ones, her husband John and their children Aaron and Leah. Patty was a participant in Unity's Women in Retirement group until her cancer prevented her from continuing. A celebration of her life will be held here at Unity in the coming weeks. We lift in our hearts those among us who are parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is the care and raising of the children of our community. And those who are also caring for aging parents. Those who live with grief or chronic pain. The many among us with illnesses, those seen and unseen. Those with new diagnoses to concern them and recurring ones, those unwelcome friends. We pray for our neighbors who are in prison, those who care for family members in ill health. Those who struggle with loneliness or strive to stay afloat amidst crushing poverty and the daily uncertainty. Those living with addiction who celebrate one day at a time. Our lives are blessed by those who knowingly and with curiosity and courage face their final days, and by those who rise above heartbreak to challenge oppression in all of its forms. And we pray for those in harm's way, those here in our community and around our world, those living in fear. And we pray for the wisdom and the strength of the leaders of the world and for the leaders of this beloved congregation as we continue to live into our future and to build beloved community. Let us join now in lifting the names of those who you carry in your hearts aloud or silently. And to those of you online as well, please know that we hear your prayers too, and you are with us in this space. We lift all of these names and those not known to us in our care, in our embrace. As we enter into our time of meditation and then silence, I offer these words for Passover by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. May we listen to the wisdom of our inner hearts and minds as we join in meditation and then silence. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders. Exodus 12:34. You'll need to travel light. Take what you can carry, a book, a poem, a battered tin cup, your child strapped to your chest, clutching your necklace in one hot, possessive fist. So the dough isn't ready. So your heart isn't ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in the journey, to the graves you've tended. But if you wait until you feel fully ready, you may never take the leap at all. And infinity is calling you forth. Out of this birth canal, out into the future's wide expanse. Learn to improvise flat cakes without yeast. Learn to read new alphabets. Wear God like a cloak. And stride forth with confidence. You won't know where you're going, but you have the words of our sages and the songs of our mothers, the inspiration wrapped in your kneading bowl. Trust that what you carry will sustain you. Take the first step out the door.
morning. Good morning, everyone. Today's anthem is Demos Gracias al Señor, Let Us Give Thanks to the Lord, by Osvaldo Golijov, an Argentine composer. In the year 2000, Osvaldo was commissioned to write a setting of the Passion story. And he wrote the Passion according to the Gospel of Mark, La Pasión de acuerdo a San Marcos. Being a Jewish agnostic, he wasn't really quite sure how to approach the story. And he sort of created an allegory to the history of Latin America and the history of fascism in Latin America. In the story, before the Last Supper and Passover, they sing a psalm. And this, what the choir is going to sing, is that psalm. For the text, Osvaldo took lines from a couple dozen different psalms in different translations of the Bible to Spanish. And the story that he creates, the image that he creates, is one of a group of people gathering together to praise and to give thanks, knowing that death is right around the corner, lurking and chasing them. For the music, he took an anti-fascist anthem of Argentina of the late 70s, We Still Sing, where the story is that regardless of the Argentine government killing and making people disappear, we still sing. And in addition to the singers, we have 3 drums, each symbolizing a different thing. One symbolizing the reality of death, one symbolizing resilience, and one symbolizing fear. So this is, we still give thanks. We give thanks to the Lord. Demos gracias al Señor.
Our reading this morning is from Jen and Rob Eller-Isaacs' 2021 Berry Street essay, On Bended Knee. The church, though out of touch with its true purposes, might yet be the seat of both personal and social transformation. This might happen if, and only if, it could become what church historian Diana Butler Bass has called a practicing congregation. As opposed to being adoring fans of some heroic preacher, participants in a practicing congregation embody the teachings and values of the church at the very core of their lives. Its disciplines become their practice. Centered in the experience of the holy, they learn to testify to that experience and encourage others to like encounters of their own. At the heart of the transcendentalist corrective is the notion that the church is in the world to encourage the experience of the holy and to frame that experience in ways that lead us to live lives of integrity, service, and joy.
Goodness. So yesterday was a day. Yesterday was the installation service to mark the start of shared ministry between Unity Church and me as the 15th senior minister to serve here. Installation services are a big deal. This was the fourth one at Unity since 1945. 4 services in 80 years. And they are also celebrations of shared ministry. Unity is a practicing congregation, my predecessors would claim, not adoring fans of some heroic preacher, but participants in a community who embody the teachings and values of the church at the very core of their lives. Rob and Jan, we're not just speaking hypothetically in 2021. The breadth of ministry that happens at Unity Church is remarkable. I remember hearing them read that Berry Street lecture 5 years ago and thinking, wow, that sounds like a really cool place. And then I reread the lecture about a week ago and went, wow, they weren't kidding. So we're going to try something. I'm going to talk about some of the groups that we have here at Unity, some of the ministries that we have here at Unity, and I'm going to ask you if you are part of those ministries now, or if you have been in the past, as I talk about them, to rise in body or in spirit and stay up through this. Okay? So the first one to talk about is our sanctuary justice team. Now, they are reformed now. Our sanctuary justice team has been working since 2016. And then this fall, right after the election, they came together and said, we want to be a recognized ministry of this church. And since then, they have been working diligently. They have been since 2016, but it has taken on a new tenor in the last 6 months. And when congregants ask me, what are we doing to meet this moment? This is who I keep pointing them to. The sanctuary team is going to be the recipient of our offering this morning. They are going to be tabling out between the 2 services. So go learn about their sacred work. But for now, if you are or have been part of the sanctuary justice team here at Unity Church, would you please rise? Okay. Next, worship associates. Many of the worship, and stay up. I know. We're going to go fast through the ones at the end. Worship associates. We just added new worship associates. If you have been a worship associate in the past or are right now, would you please stand up? Okay. These are folks who you know because you see them on Sunday morning, but what you do not see is the hours that they spend thinking about worship, writing in the middle of the night, if they are night writers, coming to quarterly planning meetings, thinking about how we do worship at Unity Church. We just added 4 new worship associates 2 weeks ago. congregational care. If you are or have ever been part of any one of the congregational care teams here at Unity, would you please stand? Congregational care is how a church lives into its vision of the beloved community. This is a place where we come to care for one another. So that looks like writing cards, that looks like showing up, that looks like making casserole, making hot dish. Whatever it is, my grandmother Maxine called it baby Jesus au gratin. The care of the church embodied in baked starches. It is holy, holy work. Other groups. When we talked about worship, we could talk about the theme teams, or the gleaners, or the library, or the book stall. If you are involved in any of those groups, would you please rise? This church, like so many others, has a beating heart that is not the sanctuary, but is the kitchen. So if you have ever shown up and worked in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, serving food on Wednesday night, cleaning up, if you've ever been one of the people on Wednesday night where we say, we need help doing the dishes, can somebody show up and help? If you have ever been one of those people, would you please rise? How about all of the different community outreach ministry teams? We talked about Sanctuary, but Sanctuary is one of 10 different teams. I'm not going to name them all because we'll be here a long time, but if you have ever been involved in any of the community outreach ministry teams here at Unity, would you please rise? If you have ever taught religious education, if you have ever sung in one of our choirs, if you have ever been an usher or a greeter or a front desk volunteer, if you have ever volunteered for something that I have not caught yet in my list, and if you have come here on a Sunday morning, because that is what makes a church, is everybody gathering on Sunday morning. Okay. Now look around for just a minute. Participants in a practicing congregation embody the teachings and values of the church at the very core of their lives. Those aren't just words. That's what Unity Church is. That's what shared ministry is. That's what we're celebrating this weekend. Please be seated.
Unity Church is framed by statements of conscience, known as its end statements. One of those is, sustain and steward the church and our larger Unitarian Universalist movement for the future. Our movement extends beyond the walls of this church to partners with whom we share a common interest. Each week, the larger portion of our offering goes to these community partners. Unity's Sanctuary Justice Community Outreach Ministry Team is a faith-based social justice response to changing immigration policies and threats to LGBTQ+ rights. The Sanctuary Justice Team is focusing on 3 key areas: educating Unity members on policy impacts, advocating for just legislation, and standing in solidarity with displaced persons. The team anticipates needing funds to provide emergency monetary help to those seeking sanctuary assistance and for expenses related to sanctuary justice education events for the congregation and in coordination with community partners. If you would like to learn more about the work of the team, please join them for Sanctuary Justice 101 this week at Wellspring Wednesday. Details are in This Week at Unity, the insert in your order of service. Will the ushers please come forward? We know that when we live lives of integrity, service, and joy, Generosity is sure to follow. Please give as generously as you are able.
So yesterday we did a thing. Was anyone here yesterday? Yeah, okay. So to tell the story of what happened yesterday, we have to go back a little bit. 1 year ago this week, I showed up in St. Paul as the candidate to be the next senior minister of this church. And on April 21st of 2024, the members of Unity Church gathered in this room and voted to call me as the 15th senior minister of this church. And then immediately following, I left the building. Candidating ends with a vote, you see. And there are lots of reasons not to schedule much right after a vote. Votes do not always go the way we hope or expect. This congregation has recent experience of that. And the process that included the vote last year was one of celebration, but also one of heartbreak, of ambiguity, of a lot of grief. So the vote in April of 2024 was not immediately followed by a party. But yesterday, a year later, was the last piece of that process, the last piece of the transitional process. A vote is a commitment. It is the governance act that our congregation in our tradition takes to call a settled minister. But the other half of that act, the liturgical celebratory act, takes place months, sometimes almost exactly a year later. And so that's what we did yesterday. Gathered in this room again or online, we said our promises to one another as minister and congregation out loud in public. That's what an installation service is, articulating the commitments we now have to each other in this shared ministry. So I hope that you will permit me a little leeway to depart from a traditional sermon this morning. Because installation services in Unitarian Universalist tradition, the installed minister doesn't actually get to say much. That's really hard for me, right? We get to say yes to the promises, and then we get to send everybody away, but nothing else. And that doesn't mean that there's not, stuff to say. So in lieu of a sermon with distinct points that flow in a coherent, linear direction towards a central point, I want to take a few minutes this morning to talk about the specific promises that we made to each other, what they mean for us in shared ministry, what they mean for me. I've made vows 5 times in my life. In roughly chronological order, they are the Peace Corps oath, marriage, ordination, fraternal vows, and installation, now at 2 churches. And each of the 5 are words with real weight. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Serve the cause of liberal religion. Cherish above all others. Teach as much by example as by precept. These are all commitments that have kept me up the night before making them, as they should, to anyone who takes them seriously. But what were the specific promises that we made to each other yesterday? Here's what you asked me to commit to in that service, what Mary asked me to commit to. We would have you dwell among us, preaching the truth in freedom and love. We would have you help educate our children and counsel our youth. We would have you minister to us in our times of joy and sorrow. We would have you demonstrate no less by your example than by precept the values of our free faith. We would have you call attention to the places we have fallen short or missed the mark. We would have you lead us in a mutual quest toward a deeper understanding of the religious life. Are you willing to take up these obligations? We would have you dwell among us, preaching the truth in freedom and love. Unitarian Universalist ministers are embedded in the communities that they serve. So that means living here in Minnesota, talking about Michigan and Baltimore and all the other places that have been home to me, sure, but finding ways to root for Minnesota sports teams. Not the Wild, that's a bridge too far, but learning about hot dish, learning all I can about this place. You ministers are not set apart. They are a part of the communities they serve. This is my home. And preaching the truth in freedom and love means even as I live here, I am accountable to conscience. Educate our children, counsel our youth, minister to us in times of joy and sorrow. The many roles of any ministry begin with 3: preacher, teacher, and pastor. Teaching and care are part of religious vocation in our tradition as far back as we can trace it. It's not just preaching, it's showing up in hospital rooms, reading stories to kids who wander into the office. It's all holy. It's all ministry. Demonstrate no less by your example than by precept. This is the one that should give every seminarian and new minister pause. So at least one nod from a retired minister. Demonstrate by your example as well as by precept. Because while UU ministers are part of the communities that we live in, not set apart, our obligation is to be an example, to ask a lot of the people that we serve and then do it ourselves. Preach the gospel always, the saying goes. When necessary, use words. Call attention to the places we have fallen short or missed the mark. You do not call a minister to make yourselves feel good. The obligation that I have to you is not to make you comfortable, but to ask you to try again, to do better, to be the best versions of yourselves and your community, to live into that joyful vision of beloved community that guides so much of our work here. Lead us in a mutual quest toward a deeper understanding of the religious life. The last obligation points straight to shared ministry. This isn't a solo quest. I'm not undertaking a journey of self-actualization and deepening. I'm engaged in a mutual quest with you, the people of Unity Church. Ministry is what we all do together. We are tied together. So I won't ask you to do anything that I won't. From attending to our spiritual practices, to working for justice in the world, to examining the oppressive structures that some of us, many of us, silently benefit from. And we're going to do all of that together. Because you, Unity Church, made some vows yourself yesterday. We, on our part, pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to us all, that the ministry of Unity Church is a shared ministry. And as we would ask you to be charitable towards our failures, so will we also remember that you are human and can falter. We recognize that we bear a responsibility for your material welfare and spiritual development. We pledge ourselves to maintain the freedom of both pulpit and pew. We pledge to assist and cooperate with you in our common growth in a religious life. We remember that you are human and can falter. Thank you. The obligations that we spoke yesterday are covenantal commitments, and covenants are aspirational. There are no perfect congregations, and there are no perfect ministers. There will be times in the coming years where I will fall short. I won't always demonstrate by my example. And in those moments, our mutual obligation is one of grace to do better next time and acknowledge that we are all of us, human. We bear a responsibility in your material welfare and spiritual development. I am yours. Dwelling among you is the obligation that I took. And moving across state lines to be here means that I, like the rest of the staff team, are dependent on the generosity of this place. There's no overarching denomination that runs UU congregations. We exist solely because members come together and support it, with time, with talent, and with treasure. Freedom of pulpit and pew and common growth in religious life are echoes of the obligations that I made to you. We are in this together. And freedom of conscience goes for all of us, whether speaking from the pulpit or sitting in the pews. So why dwell on all of this? Because of the first sentence of the congregation's obligation. We, on our part, pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to all of us, that the ministry of Unity Church is a shared ministry. This is what Jan and Rob called a practicing congregation, not adoring fans of a heroic preacher, but a free, voluntary association of people who choose to be together, not out of fear of damnation, but of hope, a joyful vision of the beloved community, hope for what is possible when we gather. And the way that we structure that shared ministry, the way that it works, that is so core to this place, is through covenant. Covenant, which is simply the promises we make to each other. And covenants are always aspirational. Vows are impossible on a practical level. All enemies, foreign and domestic, is an impossible standard. Never go to bed angry in the long life of a marriage is impossible. But covenants are always relational. They are always about the work of repair. So what happens the morning after you go to bed angry? That's the covenantal question. When, not if, we fall short, the path back is the commitments that we made, the obligations that we have to one another, guiding us back into relationship. We call each other to those obligations constantly, and we invite others in. Every year at General Assembly, the gathering of Unitarian Universalists, religious professionals and lay folk gather for the service of the living tradition. And as a minister, over the course of your career, you're recognized 4 times at the service of the living tradition. First, when you enter into preliminary fellowship, then when you are granted full fellowship, when you retire, and when you die. 4 times. And at each of those 4 times, the liturgy is the same. We call out from among you. Ministers are always, first, members of a Unitarian Universalist congregation, because there is nothing quite like our voluntary association. Think of how many people were standing just a few minutes ago in this room, how many people are involved in the ministry of this place, the health of this community. Ministry in Unitarian Universalism and at Unity is shared. We each, all of us, have obligations to one another. Do you know how lucky I am to be counted among you? Can you imagine what goes through my head when laughter and the smell of cookies drifts down the hallway from the kitchen on Wednesday afternoon down to my office? When the board comes out of their chairs at a retreat, literally leaning forward, leaning in, gathered around questions of who this congregation will be. When our ministers remind each other that unity will not let us fail to meet the moment. When my daughter prays at home on a Thursday night, we give thanks for being together today. When we stop in awe on a Tuesday afternoon because somehow in a monthly planning meeting we have glimpsed the face of God. And when I see that same face on Sunday morning in every single face that comes through the receiving line, my God, do you have any idea? I think you do. I think you do because that's what a practicing congregation is. I think that's why we make promises together. Covenants are relational, but they're also not just relational. I have a relationship with my dentist. I don't have a covenant with my dentist. Covenants are obligations we take for people, we take for institutions that we love. 5 vows for me, all different but all objects of love. Country, spouse, God, congregation. Love that asks for and pushes for all of us to be the best versions of ourselves. So yesterday, Reverend Laura started the service by calling in the ancestors. And one of the names was the Reverend Gene Pupke. Gene was the senior minister at First Unitarian Richmond, a mentor to many, friend to me. At my ordination, she gave the final charge to us gathered there. Love, she said, because you'll get it wrong, because you'll have to try again, because you will misunderstand, but when you do, remember, look to yourself first, because our pilgrim tradition is about the act of conscience and reflection on what we are doing. Reinhold Niebuhr wrote that nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we must be saved by love. Allow yourself to be saved by love. For I wish to go back to Richmond and hear in just a few years of the wonders of the Church of Lincoln. The wonders of the Church of St. Paul. So we are yoked now, together in this shared ministry. What wonders will we sing about? Our closing hymn is number 108 in the Gray Hymnal. My life flows on in endless song. One thing that we did not get a chance to say yesterday was that there were footnotes. You know me at this point. There are footnotes to everything. But the music of the service last afternoon, the components of the service, the act of installation, the offering recipient, all were drawn from the last 80 years of installation services here at Unity. But the last piece, the piece that the choir sang, and is singing today, was a little bit different. It's from my own ordination. The congregation that I served commissioned a choral arrangement of a Sam Baker song and sung it as a benediction. Good words with which we end worship. So, as a last nod to shared ministry this morning, I am not doing the benediction. We will hand it off to the choir to end us with good words as we extinguish the chalice.